Hello Quilters, and welcome to your first challenge from Snippets with Patterns by Jen. Today our challenge is to go to our stash and only our stash and pull out 5 monochromatic fabrics that you could use in a simple block. Once you've pulled those out, and I encourage you to take 10 minutes or less, do not take all day on this, trust your instincts. After you've chosen those 5 fabrics, I want you to challenge yourself one more time and look for a pop of fabric in your stash that you could add to those 5 fabrics that you've already pulled. We're going to use these fabrics to make a quick 9-patch block that you can then set aside and use in a later challenge, or make a few more blocks and you have a quick little wall hanging that's easy, simple, and used your stash. Okay, let's go pull those fabrics and make that quick block. So here is my stash. This is what I have to work with. Most of this is left over from the monthly color challenge. So we have the burlap from Benartex, we have Superior Solids from Benartex, we have the cotton shot, and then I have 2 buckets of purple fabric because purple is my favorite. I have flamingos, I have Steelers fabric, I have some more yardage that is obviously not brown, it's mislabeled, that is from Benartex. I have panels, that's my kryptonite, everyone, and then some Halloween fabric. So I think I'm going to go with cotton shot, and I'm going to try and get 5 monochromatic colors from this group. All right, here are my buckets of cotton shot leftover scraps and pieces from the monthly color challenge. As you can see, not organized at all. So I'm going to maybe organize some of these and then decide or see which one has enough different colors in the fabric. So let's do that quick. Okay, I think I'm going to call that good. These are pretty much all already in with bigger pieces, so I'm going to just put those away quick. I gotta tell you, I'm feeling more organized already. I obviously do not sort my scraps, so I'm thinking, as I'm looking at these piles, that green might actually be the one that has maybe, well, orange does too. I have pink and red together, which that doesn't really work. Or maybe the browns. So I think I'll pull either the green or the browns. So let's set these other ones aside for now. Now I'm actually gonna pull these lighter creams in too, because I feel like that goes well with the browns. Or we have all of these greens. So I don't know, maybe I need to make 2 monochromatic blocks. Oops. So let's see, we have a pretty light creams, some darkers. I think I really love the greens, but I don't know. Well, let's see, there's a light, kind of a lighter. Oh, that's 2 different greens right there, actually. Oh, and this is linen-esque. This is not cotton shot. So I obviously have some different lines in together with they're all from Benartex. They're basics lines, which I love and adore. So let's see, maybe I don't think I'm going to use these. These aren't really, they don't really work well with these greens that I have. Oh shoot, I didn't start the timer. Remember, we're only supposed to do this for like 10 minutes. And I did kind of cheat because I fast forwarded the video while I was sorting these fabrics because, again, not already sorted. Gosh, what do you guys think? Kind of loving the idea of the brown, actually. So even though I sorted all those, I'm going to set those aside. And let's go ahead and do the browns. So we've got some light creams, a nice tan. I know I have a really dark brown here, two different dark browns. Got one of these, and we need 5 monochromatic. And so, let's see. This is almost a red brown actually. So, I think, oh, that is a different color, isn't it? Okay. I'm thinking I need 5, so I think I'm gonna go ahead, set aside the light, just get that out of my mind. And I'm going to set aside this one. I think it's close, you know, it's monochromatic, so it could work. But I'm unsure if I want that or not. And how light do I want to go? How dark do I want to go? How close do I want to go in colors? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I got to narrow down a couple more. I think these two are also so close that I'm going to go ahead and let this one go. I think I am going to get rid of that one. So I need to do one more. And this one seems a little too red for what I have already. So I'm going to go ahead and step that one out. So now I have my 5 all in the brown family. And you know, when you're going through these, there are going to be tans that are more yellow. I think this one works because these have a little more yellow in them, and then this one is dark. I could, if I wanted to, go ahead, take out the really dark one and go ahead and do the light one. Actually, I kind of like that. My other tip for you, so after you have chosen your fabrics and you've made your decision, go ahead, take a picture of the fabrics all together and then change it to black and white. And that will give you a good idea on how the contrast is and if they work together. You can actually even tell that kind of thing in your photos, in that black and white contrast. All right, so these are the fabrics I'm going to go with. And I'm going to go ahead, press some of this. I'm going to cut my blocks. Now this is up to you, but if you want some guidance, I'm going to go ahead and cut my squares at 4.5, just because I feel like that's a good size to work with. So my squares are going to be 4.5. I need 9 of them. So I'm going to just press up a few pieces, making sure they're 4.5 inches wide. Now we have 5 fabrics. So we can do 2 of 4 of them, and then do 1 of the other one. Oh, except I forgot. We're supposed to do a pop of color. All right. So now we have choices. With this, I'm just gonna, let's go ahead and see what we have here. I could do blue. I could pull that green in that I like. Ooh, I like that. We could do, kind of thinking orange is gonna, well, actually, the problem is I really like orange, so it's hard to say no to that. I'm gonna keep this green here, just in case. I have a gold. That doesn't really pop, though. That's kind of too close to that color family. How about, I mean, everybody loves a brown and a pink, right? So that would work. Or what about this red? Pull that out, see what that looks like. I think I'm just in the mood for green today as well. I think I'm going to use that as my pop of color. Okay, so my plan for my 9 patch, and this is your challenge, so you make what you want, the size and whatever. I'm going to go ahead and cut these at 4.5, and we're gonna need, I'm gonna put the green right in the middle, which means I'm going to need 3 squares on top, 1, 2, 3, 2 on either side, 4, 5, and another 3 on the bottom, 6, 7, 8. I'll need 8 squares from these 5 fabrics. So I can do 2 from 3 of these, and then 1 from one and 1 from another. And I think I'll cut up a bunch of them and just play around with that and see what I like once I have them cut into squares that will fit together. So I'm going to go press and do some quick cutting. All right, I have gone ahead and cut most of the colors. And I cut at 4.5-inch square. You can go ahead and cut whatever size you want, but you are going to want 9 squares of the same size. Doing a 4.5-inch square means that you get, when you're done, a 12.5-inch block, which will then be a finished 12-inch size, which is a very common size in the quilting world. But I wanted to show you quick how I go ahead and cut scraps or fat quarters. I'm not doing yardage because I'm just using from my stash. But for a fat quarter, I fold it lengthwise. I try and gauge where the grain of the fabric is going. So you can kind of see the grain is going. I want it to be straight with my mat so that I'm getting a good straight cut. I'm not cutting on the bias of the fabric. And then I'm going to fold it and kind of look at this, try to make sure that it is also, the grain is also perpendicular to these lines, okay? Then I'm going to line my folded end of my fabric on my mat to get that nice straight edge this way. And then I'm going to cut off here, and again, I'm right-handed, so this is from the right-handed point of view, but I'm going to cut off a straight edge here. And to do that, right now I'm using my mat because I want the lines. I'm not using it to measure the pieces that I'm cutting right now. I use my ruler for that. But right now I'm going to give myself a straight edge to cut from. And to do that, I'm going to use the mat lines. So because I have this folded and it's on the line here, I can cut that and give myself a nice straight edge to work with. Now I'm going to use my ruler. And again, I'm cutting at 4.5 inches. So I'm going to line that up. And the line of my ruler is on the fabric. Okay. It's not off on the edge of it. It's on the fabric. That gives me just a few more fibers to work with as I'm sewing, making my block more accurate. All right, so we're going to cut that, fold this extra. Now we need to give ourselves another straight edge. And so to do that, I'm going to line up this line on the mat again, and I'm going to make sure that my selvage is going to be trimmed off, so I need to move that. And then here, so I'll be trimming all of that off, again, using the mat to make sure that the cuts that I'm making right now, these first cuts, are straight. And I'll go ahead, trim that. And now to cut the 4.5-inch squares, I'm going to, again, line that line up on the fabric. Okay, not way over. We don't want to have this much extra, but it is on the fabric, not alongside the edge. And then double check that this is also a straight mark with your ruler. We'll go ahead and cut, and I'm cutting, again, just a couple extra so that I can play around with the color layout when I'm laying these squares out. Okay, now I also wanted to show if you have if you're using your scraps, which I hope you're using your scraps in your stash, how to cut this accurately as well. And it is not a 4.5-inch wide strip, so this is going to be a different measurement, but the cutting is going to be the same. Or this is how I do it, because again, I want to make sure I have a straight edge to work with. So I'm going to fold it. So I have that fold line that I can put on my mat. I'm going to trim off as little as possible here, but I need that fold there first, okay? And then I'm going to trim this little bit off and give myself a straight edge on that side. Now, so this is, if you have a piece that is, well, if you're going to go for a 4.5 inch square, you want to make sure that the piece you're trimming is at least 5 inches, so you have some wiggle room there. All right, now I need a straight edge on this side as well. So I've got it lined up. This is the cut I made, so I know that's straight. And so I'm going to go ahead and trim off this. Actually, I'm going to move it because I don't want to trim off too much. Okay. All right. Okay, and now I rotated it one more time so I can get this edge straight as well. Okay, so now I need to know how wide this strip is. Go ahead and check. And it is 4 inches. So that means this is going to be a 4-inch square. So I need to find my 4-inch line. And now I know that all of these edges are straight. I've got all these straight edges. So now I just have to line up my ruler on the measurement I need, which is 4 for this time. See that my lines are all straight and trim that off. And that is how I would cut if I'm using scraps and I have pieces that I'm using, not like a fat quarter. Okay, so let's lay this block out. So I have my pop of color, I have my monochromatic browns, and we need to lay this out. So again, I cut out extra so that I could play around with these a little bit and see what I like, what color, which, you know, because there are going to be a couple of these that will have 2 in the square, and then a couple that will have just 1 in the square. So I want to kind of play with that, see what I have here. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's not right. Okay, where's my other piece? So light, definitely don't want that. Okay, am I missing a piece? 1. Oh no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Quilt math is hard, man. All right, so I want to split that up. And I think I want to keep the light ones. I think those will be the 2 that have only 1. And then, again, this is a great time to take that photo and change it to black and white to give yourself a contrast and see, you know, how those work together. So I think I like this. Let's go ahead, maybe move some around so they aren't, kind of like that better actually. Instead of having those 2 that were the same in the corner, and I broke up the lights a little bit more. So I like that one. But I was also thinking that maybe I would try using the pop of color more than just right on the middle. So I kind of like that too. Well, the bonus is that I have enough squares I can make a couple blocks, so I can try both of them and see how that looks. So I'm going to go ahead, I think I'm going to use this one, and because I like that long pop of color instead of just one in the middle. So the nice thing about this challenge, you get to choose how you want to put this together and which colors you want to use the most of. So I'm going to sew and come back and show you what it looks like. But before I do that, I'll go ahead and show you, if you are new to quilting or just joining this fabulous hobby, show you kind of how I put this together. So I've got my block laid out. I want to make sure I'm sewing these correctly because I'm going to move it from here to my sewing machine. So what I do, and this is what I do every block. So it's something that I just have, it's ingrained in my brain. And so you find the way that works best for you. For me, when I'm making a block like this, I always take the middle, I'll sew here. So I'm going to bring it, put it in a pile like this. I'm going to carry it like this to my sewing machine, knowing that this is the side that my seam is going to be on. Then I'll press those and open them up. And when I come back, and then the next step will be that I'll fold these over the sewn part, again, stack it, and bring it over, knowing that this is the side I'm going to sew on. Do I never make a mistake and sew the wrong? Of course not. That happens. You get distracted on your way to the sewing machine and you sew it wrong. So you do need to lay it out, check that they're right, and then sew the next one on. Okay, now I'm going to go sew this. All right, I am sewn those first rows and I wanted to stop quick and talk about pressing. So for this 9-patch block, I am going to press the seams opposite so that when I come back to sew the rows together, I'll be able to nest them up and pin. So I pressed to the middle, then to the outside, then to the middle. And then when I come here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'll press to the middle, and then I'll press to the outside, and then I'll press to the middle, okay? And so I'll show you again. I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine just like this, knowing I need to sew my seam on this side. All right, here we are. So I've got the rows sewn, and again, wanting to point out that I pressed so they are going the opposite direction. And so now I'll do my pinning, and here is my pinning tip. So you've got your pieces right side together. These seams are going to nest up nicely, okay? And we're going to go ahead, I've got them nested. I'm going to take my pin and I'm going to pin right to left so that I am catching that seam both sides, okay? So I'm coming on the right of the sewn seam here and coming out on the left side of it. That way, as I'm stitching, so I've got it in my machine and I'm sewing, and I get to this point with the presser foot, I'm going to take one stitch over that stitching line. I'm going to take one stitch, so my sewing machine needle is right here on this side. Once it's there, now I'm going to pull the pin and I can keep on sewing. This will keep these seams nested until I stitch, but I pull this out and I'm not going over the needle with my machine and causing issues with that. So we don't want to run over the pins. So again, we're going to nest up those seams. We're going to take our pin and pin right to left. All right, let's go sew this row. And there is 9-patch block from Monochromatic Colors and a pop color. And that's it. That's our challenge. I hope you enjoyed it. Please go over to the Quilt and Learn with Patterns by Jen Facebook group and share what you have chosen for your color, what fabrics you pulled, and then I'd love to see the block that you make. Let me know if you are going to save that block or if you're going to make maybe a table runner or a wall hanging from it. Maybe a full quilt. How big is your stash? If you don't have Facebook, I'd love for you to email me at jen@patternsbyjen.com and share your photos and your thoughts there as well. This is about inspiring you, giving you some new skills. Picking colors can be hard, and also hoping that you can just enjoy the process. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. All right, I will see you next week. Go make something you love.